Every Naruto fan knows these three names: Jiraiya, Tsunade, Orochimaru. Together, they're known as the Legendary Sannin, three of the greatest ninja who ever lived. But here's something most fans outside Japan have never been told. These three characters weren't created by Masashi Kishimoto. At least, not entirely. Their story began more than 200 years ago. Long before manga. Long before anime. Long before Naruto. Their origins come from an old Japanese legend that almost every Japanese person has heard of. And once you discover that story, you'll realize Kishimoto wasn't simply creating three characters. He was bringing an ancient Japanese legend back to life. The story is called The Tale of the Gallant Jiraiya. In Japanese, Jiraiya Goketsu Monogatari. It became famous during Japan's Edo period, nearly 200 years ago. Long before comics, television, or even modern Japan. It tells the story of a wandering ninja named Jiraiya. But this wasn't the Jiraiya Naruto fans know. He wasn't the mentor of the fourth Hokage. He wasn't Naruto's teacher. Yet many of the things that made Naruto's Jiraiya so memorable were already there. The wandering hero, incredible ninja arts, a connection to giant toads. Even his greatest enemies would later become familiar to Naruto fans, because Jiraiya never stood alone. His story was always connected to two other characters, Tsunade and Orochimaru. Just like in Naruto. This wasn't a coincidence. Kishimoto wasn't borrowing names. He was honoring one of Japan's most famous legends. So, why a toad? Out of every animal in Japanese mythology, why did Kishimoto choose a giant toad for Jiraiya? The answer begins with the original legend. In the tale of the gallant Jiraiya, Jiraiya isn't born with incredible power. Instead, he spends years mastering magic. Eventually, he learns powerful toad magic. The giant toad becomes his greatest ally. Together, they defeat enemies far stronger than ordinary humans. Sound familiar? In Naruto, Jiraiya also travels the world. He trains endlessly. Then he signs a contract with the giant toads of Mount Myoboku. Gamabunta, Gamaken, Gamahiro. They're not random summons. They're a direct tribute to the original legend. But Kishimoto didn't simply copy the old story. He transformed it. The original Jiraiya mastered magical arts. Naruto's Jiraiya mastered sage jutsu. The original Jiraiya relied on mystical power. Naruto's Jiraiya learned to gather nature energy itself. Different stories, different worlds. Yet both heroes become legendary because of the wisdom they gain, not simply the strength they possess. That's why Jiraiya became much more than Naruto's teacher. He inherited the role of a legendary hero whose story had already inspired generations of Japanese readers. But Jiraiya's legend was never complete without one person, Tsunade. If Jiraiya inherited the power of the toad, then what about Tsunade? Why a slug? It may sound strange today, but in the original legend, Tsunade was also connected to a powerful creature, the slug. Just like Jiraiya, she possessed extraordinary abilities granted through that connection. Kishimoto kept the same idea. In Naruto, Tsunade summons Katsuyu, the enormous slug. Unlike Gamabunta, Katsuyu isn't known for overwhelming strength. Instead, she protects, she heals, she supports thousands of people at the same time. that perfectly matches Tsunade herself. She's remembered not only as one of the legendary Sannin, but as the greatest medical ninja of her generation. Kishimoto could have chosen any creature, a phoenix, a crane, a fox, but he stayed faithful to the old legend. Once again, the inspiration wasn't random. It came from a story that Japanese readers had known for generations. But every hero needs a rival, and that's where Orochimaru enters the story. Of the three, Orochimaru may be the closest to his original inspiration. In both stories, the serpent represents ambition, forbidden knowledge, and transformation. In Naruto, Orochimaru spends his entire life searching for immortality. He abandons ordinary human limits. He changes his own body. He steals other bodies. And he seeks every jutsu that exists. Snakes were the perfect symbol. Because in Japan, snakes have long been associated with rebirth. They shed their skin, appearing to become new again. That image fits Orochimaru almost perfectly. Just like the legendary serpent, he constantly reinvents himself. But the connection between the three Sannin goes much deeper than their animals. There's one final detail that ties everything together. And once you know it, you'll never see these three characters the same way again. Of the three, Orochimaru may be the closest to his original inspiration. In both stories, the serpent represents ambition, forbidden knowledge, and transformation. In Naruto, Orochimaru spends his entire life searching for immortality. He abandons ordinary human limits. He changes his own body. He steals other bodies. And he seeks every jutsu that exists. Snakes were the perfect symbol. Because in Japan, snakes have long been associated with rebirth. They shed their skin, appearing to become new again. That image fits Orochimaru almost perfectly. Just like the legendary serpent, he constantly reinvents himself. But the connection between the three Sannin goes much deeper than their animals. There's one final detail that ties everything together. And once you know it, you'll never see these three characters the same way again.